So this is McGonagall. She's a very needy cat. Hi guys, and welcome back to the studio sessions. My name is Brooke, and every week we talk about movies. What we love about movies, what we don't love about movies, why we love movies, what movies we love, and making movies. First, it is time for this week's studio notes. So I have a quick 3 studio notes this week. I want to start with, I got to see the Super Galaxy Mario movie with my husband and my kids, and it was very fun. Just some general thoughts. It was really cute. There was moments both for adults and kids. And there was also more amazing moments for those of us that grew up on the Super Mario games and loved them. There were so many nods to the games. There was just some really fun imagery with it, and I thought they did a really good job. I thought it was a fun way to continue the story and expand the world. And there's even some fun credits teasers and after credits teasers if you stay and watch the whole thing. So, yeah, that was really fun. Finally got to see it. Number 2 is more YouTubers are jumping into filmmaking. So, we already had Markiplier with Iron Lung. Now, Jacksepticeye is also doing a film, also adapting a video game. I think it will be really interesting to see how that movie does, especially after all of the success of Iron Lung. And it'll be a little different. He's partnering with Sony. So it is not indie like Markiplier's was, but it is still a very popular video game they're adapting. And this is a foray into film. Now, I think he's had little roles he's played in things. Like just a quick Google search shows he actually has produced an indie horror called Godmother, which I feel like I heard about at one point, but I didn't know a ton about. And then I did know he made an appearance in Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, which was really funny. So this will be a big jump into filmmaking, and on a much larger scale. So this is another instance of that. I think it's really interesting. A lot of this is happening now, to be honest. It doesn't surprise me. Those of us that love filmmaking really have found a way to showcase what we enjoy doing that is a much easier foot in the door to get it in front of people than going to a studio, than going through all of those hoops. And so it doesn't really surprise me that more people that are interested in doing this kind of creation are also going to be interested on a possibility of a larger scale, bigger project and expanding that. So, yeah. Really cool to see, and it'll be interesting to see how it does. I would not be surprised if it does pretty well. And the third point I want to make is more personal, real stories dominating. Stories about well-known people. A lot of documentaries are doing really well. You have Martin Short doing a documentary on Netflix. We just had Eddie Murphy doing a documentary on Netflix. A lot of documentaries about people that are pretty well known, well loved, are cropping up. And I think we're going to start seeing more and more of that. It is something that people are willing to take a chance on because that person is well loved. And it's not the risk of a narrative feature or something like that that might feel more riskier, honestly, right now. All very interesting to note, and I would not be surprised if we continue seeing this for a while. And that is this week's Studio Notes. Now, the main topic that I want to talk about this week, and that is the trend we are seeing in smaller, more personal, more emotional stories being what does well. So we had the era of Marvel movies, superhero movies, action movies, right? We had that era. It was big. Lots of big things happen in those movies. That's why they're so expensive to make. But we're seeing a trend where there was a lot of Marvel fatigue and superhero in general fatigue because that was all we were seeing at the box office because it made a ton of money in its heyday. Obviously, at the end, that wasn't the case, but while they were happening prominently, it made a lot of money. And so that's a lot of what we were seeing. And this fatigue has now shifted to you are getting more emotional stories. You're getting more drama and more character driven, where you're emotionally connecting with the character more rather than the action pieces being what draws you in. And that's a very interesting shift. I think it's a almost boomerang response to the Marvel movies. And I hope it leads to an expansion of what we see in the box office. Like we have Devil Wears Prada 2 and Fokker in Law happening. And again, I know I've mentioned this before. I think they're trying to test the waters to see what they can do. I think a lot of studios have realized that fatigue and that some kind of shift needs to happen. And I think what they're trying and what people are responding to is more character-driven stories again. It's more personal, it's more emotional, it's more empathetic and pulling you in emotionally rather than flashy set pieces. Either that or it's recognizable, loved IP like a video game a lot of people love. And of course, I always like to take a second to share that if you are interested in a documentary, a very personal, human-centered documentary, I would love to share my film Like a Butterfly with you. So head to the link in the description and you can watch Like a Butterfly on our website. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts if you do. And thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking movies. The interesting part is, in that shift, you are seeing more and more documentaries because there's a very human element to documentaries. It's real stories, not narrative that was written by a screenwriter. There's always some kind of emotion and purpose to it. And within that, you have a lot of indie filmmakers testing the waters, trying out their efforts at it. And there's a lot of advocacy happening with it too. You see a lot of purpose-driven pieces. And I will say, I have to admit that's a part of the work I've been doing where I make my short films on the Butterfly Entertainment TV YouTube channel. I released Like a Butterfly. I'm developing more films and the next project. And I think because of the human stories at the middle, there's something really unique to it that's drawing people in. It's what's drawing people's interest. It's not just a movie just for a movie, there's a reason behind it. And as a movie lover, I will always say there doesn't need to be a quote unquote reason behind every movie. Like I said, I would love to see the comeback of just the comedy for the comedy's sake. Make going to theaters fun again. It doesn't have to be heavy topics for everything or these big dramatic things. It can just be a really fun, lighthearted time. But what we're seeing get attention right now is that. So that is what's dominating. It's the human story pieces. It's the documentaries. And I think part of that might also connect to the dominance of YouTube, where there's a lot of connection with people through that, through people who create on YouTube. There's a personal connection you make with people you watch on YouTube. You feel like you know them. And it's much more personal content they're making. And I think that has changed what people look for and expect from watching something. Most of the time, you are connecting with who those people are. Sure, there's some comedy sketch channels and things like that, but it's a lot of personal stories. And I think that has now drifted over into the mainstream content that's being watched. Not to mention, you also have more creator-led filmmaking happening. People jumping from YouTube and going, "Okay, I'm gonna make a full feature now," and getting support. And you have a lot of films, regardless of if they're with a studio or independent, making a greater reach to connect with the audience personally through social media campaigns, through events where they are making a deeper connection with that audience before expecting them to come see the film, like in the process of building up to going to see the film. You see these social media campaigns and events happen that are clearly drawing the audience in and making a deeper connection beyond, oh, that movie looks really good. I want to see that. It takes more. People expect more of a connection, I think, than we ever have in that way to get a result like getting somebody to go out and go watch a movie. And it's an interesting shift. It's an interesting dynamic that studios are going to have quite a time navigating because they are on such a larger scale. And that really works better for smaller operations. And it'll be interesting. I think some legacy films have done decent with this. Like I would say Scream 7's campaign did amazing with this. They had Neve Campbell all over the place and the social media campaign was hardcore connecting with the audience and pulling those that are interested in and connecting. And I think we'll see that more and more, and I think it's going to keep paying off. This personal connection is a part of what I have begun building Butterfly Entertainment on. It's what I started on my YouTube channel and what I've now started building into the studio, where a lot of the projects that are being developed are personal, human, emotional stories and are leaning heavy into that format. It just so happens that that aligns with a lot of the work that I do on my channel that I had already been doing. Not to say that that's the only projects I'm ever going to do, but that certainly is where I'm at right now. And so a lot of what we're developing at Butterfly Entertainment is that heartfelt, emotional, personal, human storytelling that connects with you on a very personal level. And I love the work that I do with it. I think the impact that that type of filmmaking has is really powerful and really important. And so I am glad to see it being appreciated. I am glad to see there's a level of connection asked for from an audience, you know, a level of work done to earn that, if you will. I think that's the best kind of audience that would respond to that to have for those types of films. And so I'm glad it's happening and I'm glad it's doing so well. That is honestly really exciting to see. I am very excited that I have been getting to try my own hand at it. So that is an interesting aspect of filmmaking happening right now. If you have noticed that, let me know. If you are interested in those types of films, let me know. If you are not the documentary type, what's your favorite type of film? And if you do love documentaries, what is the most recent favorite documentary that you've watched that you would suggest to others? I would love to hear suggestions. That was an element of things I wanted to talk about. Let me know your thoughts on it. I would love to hear. And if you have any other suggestions for topics within these that you would like to see, either the studio notes or a main episode topic, I would love to hear. Leave that in the comments below. There's pretty much no aspect of filmmaking I'm not interested in talking about more, so let me know what you'd like to hear. And I will see you guys next week in the next episode. Bye! The Studio Sessions is a Butterfly Entertainment production. You can keep up with all of our podcasts, YouTube videos, films, and other projects on our Instagram page. We are at Butterfly Entertainment Group. Thanks for listening.